at the outset, I would like to thank the scientific committee for inviting me, and greetings to all the Strabismus family. So basically, for planning the strabismus surgery, anatomy and actions of extraocular muscles and relative contribution of each muscle is very important, and we must know what are the primary actions, secondary actions, and tertiary action, and what is the distance of each rectus muscle from the limbus. And this is the table which shows the approximate length of the muscle, anatomical insertion, tendon length, arc of contact, and actions from the primary position. So basically, why are we operating the patient in planning the surgery? It is very important. It is for binocular singular vision, or to eliminate diplopia, or to correct ASP, or it is purely for cosmesis. So basically, this presentation is an appetizer. And monocular R&R, if you do excessively, then there is chance of incompetence in fusing patients. And however, this monocular surgery is procedure of choice for cosmesis. We must specifically diagnose the etiology, and tailored approach should be there for each and every case. Proper history is very important, and preoperative assessment is very important. We must rule out amblyopia, because if the patient we are operating on the amblyopic eye or on the other eye, that affects the management. Visual acuity, proper measurement, and proper cycloplegic refraction is mandatory. We have to do the other examination also, external inspection of the eyes. And part of the strabismus assessment includes motor ocular motility examination. Must look for any eccentric fixation. And method of measurement has already been stressed by Dr. Arun Sampruti. We must do the AC/A ratio near point of convergence, and we must assess the sensory status. FDT and FGT should be done. Pharmacological investigation should be done if we are suspecting myasthenia. Radiological investigation should be done. So aim of our treatment is to restore good vision to each eye, good binocular single vision, to eliminate diplopia, to eliminate abnormal head posture, improvement of the psychosocial functions, and improvement of the vocational status, and to achieve the cosmesis. And goals should be prioritized based on the etiology. And measurement of the deviation must be reliable and consistent. Desirable is we want to achieve perfect alignment in all gazes. However, the acceptable is ocular alignment in primary and down gaze. And we have to take care expectations of the patients versus expected surgical outcome, and what is the purpose of surgery and what it involves must be explained to the patients, and what are the benefit and risk of the surgery. Timings of the surgery is very important. For constant strabismus, you should operate as soon as possible. For intermittent strabismus, it should be the last option, and in older children and adults, it is at any time convenience of the surgeon and the parents. And for paralytic squints, usually you should wait for 3 to 6 months. Then there are surgeon's factors, degree of squint. Same amount of muscle surgery may give different results in smaller or larger deviations. Age of the patient and duration of the squint has an effect. Recession is more effective as compared to the resection. If there is presence of intractable amblyopia, that affects the management. Eccentric fixation affects the management. Effect of medial rectus is more as compared to the lateral rectus. Effect of vertical muscles is more as compared to the horizontal recessions. And combined resect has additional additive effect. General considerations is optimal head position should be there. The neck should be extended. Then we have to think about whether we are going for limbal incisions, phonics incision, or minimally invasive strabismus surgery. To avoid the perforation, we can plan the hang bag surgery, and we can avoid suturing in the area with where sclera is thinnest, and we have to ensure that whole of the rectus muscle comes into the muscle hook. So we have to keep it perpendicular to the sclera and complete hooking of the muscle. We can do the pole test, and we have to secure full thickness muscles by central and locking peripheral bites, and we have to respect the posterior Tenon's capsule. Recession and resection are transposition that depends on the need. Anesthesia, usually general anesthesia for children, local anesthesia for adults, and topical anesthesia can be used for cooperative patients and for horizontal surgeries. The comfort and cosmesis of patient by less scarring is preferred modality for initial incisions, and we can assess multiple muscles. Then we have to respect the safe limits for resection. 8 mm resection for the lateral rectus and 6 mm for the medial rectus are the safe limits, and for recession 6.5 for medial rectus and 9 mm for the lateral rectus. Then in the incisions, this minimally invasive strabismus surgery, it is better accepted these days due to osmosis and minimal disruption of the tissues, and there is less trauma to the operative area. And if you want the deviation is approximately 25 prism diopters, then surgery on single muscle may suffice. If, these are the rough guidelines. For 50 prism diopters, you have to do surgery on 2 muscles, and for 75, 3 muscles, and more than 75, you have to do surgery for 4 muscles. But we should not operate on 3 recti muscles at one time in one eye to avoid anterior segment ischemia, or we should go for vessel sparing surgeries. Then monocular surgery versus binocular surgery, and if we do additional conjunctival recession, that has additive effects. For resurgery patients, we have to prefer unoperated eye, and if there is excessive restrictions, reoperation on the same eye is more useful. We can go for use of antimetabolites, and AS-OCT and dynamic MRI, they are this AS-OCT is non-invasive and can detect the exact muscle insertion, and they are helpful in planning in patients of resurgery. In many cases, surgery is the only treatment, and mainly recession, resection are transposition, and transposition is usually for the paralytic strabismus. If GA is to be used, suction line choline should not be used as a depolarizing agent. And for reducing the operative bleeding, you can go for slight head-up position of the patient and avoidance of excessive carbon dioxide by levels of hyperventilation. And during surgery, we must avoid damaging the muscle sheath and anterior ciliary vessels. Sheath ligaments and muscle sheath should be disturbed minimally. Be careful about superior rectus and lateral rectus while isolating superior oblique and inferior oblique. And recession should be done fast. And for larger recessions, Hangweg technique can be used, and ensure adequate attachment of the muscles. Then we can go for surgical modifications like Hangweg recessions, adjustable sutures, or Fardon's operation. Then some cases like for infantile esotropia, we should have alignment before 1 year of age, and early surgery, that is between 6 months to 1 year, should be done. Bilateral MR recession is treatment of choice in cases without amblyopia, but RRR in cases if there is amblyopia. Intermittent exotropia basically is controversial topic, and surgery we must do the prior patch test, 3 diopter test, and we must see whether there is any lateral incompetence, whether present. So treatment of intermittent exotropia, surgery is only treatment of choice, and bilateral lateral rectus recession are is the treatment of choice. Whether you do recess procedure or bilateral recession, the results are equivocal. There are controversial points. Then vertical committant deviations can be caused in 3 different ways: overaction of the vertical recti, dysfunction of the horizontal recti, are obliques of the overaction of the obliques, and they have different plans. Presence of AV pattern is there that must be treated, and this PARTS 3 step test is very important, and we have to differentiate between congenital and acquired palsies. then we have to differentiate between unilateral and bilateral policies, that because the treatment is different. And basically, I would like to conclude, strabismus surgery result can be improved by careful planning.